The Red Strings Club is a game I have had my eyes on for some time. Ever since I saw the cyberpunk setting and the pixel art style, you could color me intrigued. Needless to say, when it went free with Twitch Prime, I was very excited to give it a playthrough. However, coming away from it, I just have mixed feelings, and above all my feelings, I feel as if I was about to jump into the ocean on my home of Vancouver Island, but was instead met with a kiddie pool in my current home of the Midwest. Now, this could very well be because the game is one of those every choice you make affects the story style of games, but in all honesty, I never felt the desire to return to it for a second playthrough in an effort to mop up my issues with it. Let's start off with what I like about the game before I elaborate on my criticisms though. I enjoyed the game aesthetically, its art, presentation, and sound. While there are limited outstanding tracks, they're all extremely pleasing to the senses and enjoyable to experience. If there was a main draw for this game, this would be it. The second is its discussion on morality. There were times where I was rightly called out for being a hypocrite, which surprised me a great deal. The mini-games in between the game's interrogation sessions were also enjoyable and never overstayed their welcome. I really enjoyed the bartending and hell, even the pottery. Speaking of interrogation sections, while each was fun and enjoyable to piece through as I tried to extract information from a certain client, it also provided me with the reason I have a dusty and untouched copy of L.A. Noire on my shelf waiting to be finished. I'm not terribly great at interrogations in games. Despite this, my first few hours within the game were heavily enjoyable. It is in its latter half that the Red Strings Club turned me off, and it all started with a straight-up insult. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I certainly will admit to it. There is a section where you are asked about your ideal world and the oppression of women is brought up. While certainly an issue in the past, it isn't so now. Since there is no in-game context as to the state of the world, I was left to base it off of my own reality and was called stupid for doing so. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be a whiny brat about all this and pull the victim card as many would, but it is best not to insult your customer base. That being said, it only slightly irked me, and I could move on if the majority of the cast that comes to my mind didn't boil down to sexuality. Now, before you get all up in arms at me, let me explain. Sexuality in characters isn't a bad thing. What is bad is when all I can remember about those characters is their sexuality. When all I can remember about a character is that they are trans and I just played the game today, that's an issue. Not to mention that the game brings it up so often and often contradicts itself in so many ways that the term "I love you" in this game's world bears no significant meaning. 10 seconds ago, someone would talk about their love for one character, and then a few scenes later they'd talk about loving someone else. It just doesn't make sense unless everyone in this version of the future is cucking each other. All of this felt forced. They try to be subtle about it, sure, credit where credit is due, but I just don't think it worked here. It doesn't help that all but one of the characters I found interesting were never expanded upon. There was a lot of setup for no development, so much so that I wondered if the story was written by J.J. Abrams and Roundhead Ryan Johnson. But then I remembered the story maintained my interest for the first few hours, so that was impossible. Even the character I liked that was developed kind of had my interest killed off, as their development discarded most about what I liked about their character. So to come to conclusions, is the Red Strings Club worth a playthrough? Well, I think that entirely depends upon the person. If you like narrative games, go for it, especially one with so much reading that I could have met my middle school reading goals with a single playthrough, not to mention many. If you like the game's artistic style, then it's definitely worth it just to see all the game's fantastic art and song to match for free like I got it, or at a discount from its $15 price tag. However, if that isn't you, I would probably pass up the Red Strings Club. Different strokes for different folks, you know? Who knows, maybe one day I'll decide to give the game another playthrough and enjoy it more. If that happens, I will be sure to let you know. With that being said, my name is Soda, and I'll see you all in the next video of whatever I make. Peace.